Hey, what's up, gang? This is Art at Home session number 15, and today is Aloha Friday. So, weekend's coming up, ready to relax, enjoy the family. So, we are going to actually learn how to take our pictures and get them ready for, or actually being able to draw a picture and get them ready for coloring. And I like to call it inking. It's not as in-depth as, like, say, what comic book people do, but you can get that good. What I want to do is just take it very, very slowly. So I'm going to show you guys the steps into how to take your pencil drawing and turn it into something that you can color in to make it look very much like a cartoon. So I'm getting you guys ready for this coming Monday. There's going to be another RTI coming out. Hopefully you guys can visit or stop by the email, send me an idea of what you guys want to do next week Monday so that we can do those drawings, okay? But here's the supplies that we're going to need. A pencil, an eraser, some pens. I've got an assortment of different Sharpies here. I've got a fine, I've got an ultra fine, I've got an extra fine, and I've got a couple of extremely fine pens. These pens are super tiny, so the nibs are like really skinny for those high details. If you guys can get a hold of these kinds of pens, or they have something called the Pigma Microns, those are actually really, really good pens. They have nice pigment, but I like to use the Sharpies because they come out really nice and dark. And we're also going to need paper, and we're going to need reference material, so magazine, newspaper. I'm using my phone again because it has Google on it, and it has like a plethora of information that I can go ahead and gather using just one application. Towards the end of this inking session, you guys are probably going to need things like crayons or colored pencils or even markers to color in your finished product, okay? So we're gonna wait for the end for this. I just want to show you guys how to get to the point where you can color it and make it look pretty good. Make it an overall strong, simple cartoon drawing that looks nice, okay? Alright, so first of all, start off with your reference. I'm gonna go ahead and use my phone. So I'm gonna go, first of all, look up some references here. Alright, that's the first step. Look up a picture. Alright, so I have my pictures selected, I have my eraser handy, and I take my graphite pencil, make sure that you have a tip on it, and we start drawing our figure on the paper, just using the same techniques. If you guys still need a reference, you can always watch one of the Monday RTI videos and you can draw a cartoon character from that selection. There's usually about 3 or 4 drawings per video, so you guys can get step-by-step information how to draw each character. So there's a small hint there to help you out. Alright, so let's get this thing drawn. Alright, so once you have your picture sketched out, this is where the inking comes in. Now, I've already come accustomed to drawing my shapes a certain way and leaving the graphite overlapping here and there, because I already know how my figure works or how the picture's supposed to look. So it's going to be very scratchy on my paper. Yours might be a little bit cleaner. But if it's hurting you to see all those scratchy lines everywhere, you can clean them up. Get rid of the lines here and there that don't make any sense. That's totally up to you. but ultimately we will be erasing off all the marks when we are ready to move on with coloring our pictures. So it's not a really big deal. If you can handle working with the scratches everywhere, then yeah, by all means you can leave it, and it'll save you time so you can get on to the inking portion. Alright? Okay, so let me show you how I make my picture look more like a cartoon. So the first thing I start off with is I have these 3 larger Sharpies and I have these 2 smaller ones here. Fortunately, my pencil is done for now. But anyway, I'm going to start off with the biggest tip that I have, and that is the fine point tip. And you guys can see that. Yeah, it has a nice wedged tip right there, and the nib has a nice broad side over here, so you can make nice thick lines. And that's what I'm going to do. I'm going to make thick lines first, and that's going to be all the lines on the outside of my figure. So I'm going to use my pen, and I'm just going to go ahead and outline all the lines that I just drew with my pencil. Okay, so you can see now that the thick pen has been used to do the entire outline or contour of the drawing, and I can put this pen to the side because that one for now we are moving on to the next thicker pen. Now I have extra fine and I have ultra fine. Now the difference between the extra and the ultra being the slightly thicker and ultra being quite different. Now if you look at the 2 nibs on these bad boys, okay, you're gonna notice that one is a wedge shape while the other one actually has a little tip there. See that? I gotta put it in front of the camera so the camera can focus. So I have a wedge here and I have just a tip there. This one makes a finer line, so this pen is actually gonna be used second or third after this one here. If you don't have anything other than the thick Sharpie, that's fine. Not a big loss, because you can always use the tip of the thicker one. You just have to be careful that you only use a tip and you just press kind of lightly, because after a while that tip is going to wear and it's going to become flatter and flatter, making it just as thick as the side here of the wedge. So if you have a brand new one of these, you're going to get some nice fine lines from it by using just a tip, but it'll be easier if you have a second pen. Extra fine is good. Ultra fine is the smallest in this style of Sharpie. So now what I'm going to do is I'm going to take my extra fine point and I'm going to start doing all the details, all the roughly larger details, and not the fine ones. Okay, the fine details like the eyes, the tongue, probably the lines in the fingers and stuff, I'm going to save that for the smaller pen. So you guys can watch me use, well, after I throw it on the floor, you guys can go ahead and watch me use the extra fine tip to zero in on some of these details. Okay, so we finished up with the extra fine point. If your picture is more detailed than the one that I drew, like this is a pretty simple picture, maybe a little bit difficult for the kindergarten first grades, but I'm sure the second through fourth should have an easier time with this picture. If you guys are in 5th or 6th grade and you guys have like a more advanced picture, you can go ahead and take the, if you have one, an ultra fine point and do even the smaller details. So I think one of the only smaller details that this character has is a really thin line going around the rim of his hat, like that. I could have also saved this pen for the eyes, because they do have really skinny lines coming in by where the eyelashes are. So I actually should have saved this pen for this detail. Other than that, this picture is pretty much done. If your picture is even more elaborate than that, you can go ahead and invest in these Sharpie pens, or even, like I was telling you, the Pigma Micron. Those are really good too. But these points are like really small. You can see that they're really tiny, so that you can do like really fine details. You know, eyelashes, hair, buttons, screws. You know, all those small details on your drawing. Yeah, that's what these pens are for. I can show you guys an example of how I use these pens for hatching and cross hatching in my pictures to create value at the end of this session. Alright, so my picture is finished with its inking, and we are ready to take our eraser and get rid of all of these graphite lines to make it a nice clean ink drawing. Alright, so here we have it, our finished ink drawing. Not too bad. It's you can't see my graphite anymore because I drew light enough so that it wasn't gouging into my paper. But the idea is here, and now I am able to take my crayons or my colored pencils or even my markers to color this cute little guy in. In fact, I'm just going to go ahead and color this guy in right now, and you guys can see it. First, I'm going to need colors. Alright, so these are the colors that I'll be using on my photo, on my picture, and yeah, I'm going to go ahead and start coloring it in. I finished coloring it in. I want to show you one more thing. So in these Crayola packs, these are actually my daughter's pens. They kind of give you a bunch of cool colors. Not a lot, but it's difficult to try to color something a certain way that you want, like say the blue. When you use markers, this blue comes out this blue no matter what. It can't be any lighter. It's stuck being this blue. So if you want blue, that's your blue. But the cool thing is, like the gray, I like to use the gray as a way to make value, or to try and add a tone to the color so it's darker. Like the character has an orange beak. It's not this orange. It's more of a yellow orange. And so the inside of the mouth is actually supposed to be the orange. However, since I only had the one orange color, I can take my gray and I can use this as a way to add some shadows, some value. And I can go ahead and just rub it right over the last color that I colored with. And that'll actually give it a darker, shadowy version of itself. I mean, it's much darker, but at least you can see that inside that gray, there's some of that orange. So So if you're gonna make shadows and stuff, using the gray over the first color that you put really makes it stand out. So this is much better, yeah? You guys can actually see that this looks way better than if it was just left just orange, because now you can differentiate between the inside of the mouth and the outside of the beak, yeah? So, yeah, there you have the picture that I decided to do, which is of Donald Duck. We started off by sketching it, and then inking the outsides with the thick marker, inking the details with the finer marker. And if you have even more details that are smaller than that, you can get an even finer tipped marker, and you can go for those really small details with a really fine Sharpie or a fine micron if you can find those. Those are kind of expensive, but they're really worth it because the ink on those things are fantastic. But anyway, yeah, so this is it. This is how you guys get it. Alright, so now I'm going to show you a drawing that I've been working on for the past couple of days, that I had some free time with my family running all over the place. But I'm going to show you guys what a more advanced picture would look like if you had multiple characters on a bigger piece of paper. So I did this one here. And this is from a cartoon that I used to watch growing up when I was a kid. They were called the Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles. And so in order for me to do this picture, the first step was, of course, sketch out, well, first of all, find a reference. Find a picture that you want to draw. So find that reference, use that as your go-to, and then draw it with the graphite pencils. Outline them with the thick Sharpie. Use the finer Sharpie to do the inside details. And if your picture has even more details, like this picture that I have, you can use the even finer Sharpie to work on those details. Then after that, you put some really heavy value, so there's a contrast between light and dark, and you add that to each one of your figures that you have on your paper until you reach the end, and then you can finally add the color. So step by step, graphite, ink, erase, that's an important one, erasing the graphite, and then finally using your markers, using your crayons, or using your colored pencils to finally finish up your drawing. Alright gang, so that's it for today's session. Enjoy your weekend. Happy Aloha Friday. We'll see you next time.